Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Content Creation Masterclass with myself, Cheryl Muir, and Mary Shawes. We're going to be teaching you all kinds of things about content, starting with the 5 types of killer content to take you from hobbyist to expert, the 3-prong approach to killer content, the difference between attention grabbing and attention seeking content on social media, and there is a difference, the 3 essential content creation tools, as well as content mega batching and social media scheduling. You have course materials to go along with this recorded component of the course. You have the social media matrix, which is really going to help you to implement the 5 types of killer content on the 4 major social media platforms. And we'll come to what those are in a second. You also have live streams made simple, your guide to script your next Facebook Live video. You also have copies of my Facebook Live scripts, which you can use as a template for your own Facebook Live. These scripts are real, live, and unedited. I've never shared them before, and I have used them for my own live. So this is as real as it gets for you. And finally, you have the mega batching worksheet to help you organize your scheduled posts months in advance. So if you're wondering who I am and what I'm all about, let me introduce myself. I'm Cheryl Muir, and I'm a media strategist based in the UK. I'm a former PR executive who spent 5 years winning media coverage for multinationals before starting my business. And I've been running my business for a further 3 years. My clients and I have been featured in media outlets including the BBC, Inc., Mind Body Green, the Huffington Post, Elephant Journal, Forbes, lots of different places, and also numerous podcasts, magazines, newspapers, and radio stations in the UK, the US, and Canada. Also joining us today, we have Mary Shawes. Mary has spent her entire career as an author, speaker, and entrepreneur, generating positive and pragmatic solutions for people who are freaking out. Mary understands human behavior from the trifecta of psychology, neurology, and neurochemistry, and she pairs that knowledge with her extensive personal experience to help businesses and individuals fearlessly create their own realities. So, what is content anyway? There are 2 major forms of content. The first is platform building. What platform building content does, as the name suggests, is it does build your platform, and it does this by showcasing your expertise and your skill set. It creates a following, your platform, by giving people a reason to follow you. It also sets you apart from others in your field and positions you as the go-to expert. It also gives the media, podcast hosts, and book publishers a reason to say yes to you. The second type of content is revenue generating, and that carries the sole purpose of increasing your income. It's specifically sales-based, and it uses a lot of traditional marketing modalities such as sales funnels, sales pages, and paid advertising. The focus of our course is going to be the platform building side of the content. Where is platform building content hosted? It's going to be hosted on your social media channels, and it's comprised of a number of different elements, including text-based posts, images, videos. Your videos can be live, they can be pre-recorded. For example, Facebook Live, which we've mentioned, and we will be talking about that in more detail, and YouTube is generally pre-recorded, although you do have the functionality to go live there too. And blogs as well, blogs on your own platform. So we're not talking about the media type of blogs like the Huffington Post and Forbes. That's not what we're talking about here. We're referring to the blogs on your own platforms like your website and LinkedIn Pulse, which is an inbuilt blogging platform on your LinkedIn profile. We are focusing on text-based posts, images, and videos, Facebook Live in this course. Given that your content is hosted on social media, it's really, really critical that for your content to land, you have a strong foundation on your channels. So let's cover some quick do's and don'ts of social media. You may already know these already, but it's really worth checking in just to double check you are implementing all of these. Social media is not your diary or a place to rant or air your grievances. It's not somewhere you randomly mention your area of expertise, and it's not restricted to only your friends and your family. Social media is your platform. It's a place to tell the world what you believe. It's a way to position yourself as the expert, which you are, and is open to the public. Public figures don't have private social media channels. This is one that really makes a lot of people squirm because many people want to hide behind private Instagram accounts that are only open to people that you approve, or personal Facebook profiles. But if you really are going in that direction of becoming a public figure, which is what you are when you become an expert in your field and really rise up as a thought leader, then it's going to have to be public all round. So let's get straight into the 5 types of content to take you from hobbyist to expert. You have course materials for this section, which is your social media matrix. As you can see on the matrix, we've listed out the 5 types of content along with the 4 major social media channels, being mainly Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and the matching the social media channels to the types of content. You may find that in some cases, yes, you can share a polarizing opinion on LinkedIn. Yes, you can share behind the scenes content there, but it doesn't do very well. So where there's an X marks the spot, that doesn't mean you can't. It just means it's not really that well suited, and it won't particularly land or get that much engagement. So that's not the highest and best use of that platform. So those 5 types of content are, as you might have just seen in our previous section, stories, quotes, polarizing opinions, how-to guides, and behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what each type of content looks like, why it's important for your platform and your brand, as well as, of course, how to create each type. I'm also going to recommend which content works really well for text with some images included for effect, and which works best for videos. The first type of killer content is stories. A story-based post is very, very effective. It is a long-form, text-based post, often combined with a powerful image, which takes the reader on a journey and leaves them with inspiration, a call to action, or something to think about. As you can see, I've included an example here that I created not too long ago. It is a story-based post with an image of me, and the image really serves to act as a scroll stopper, and we'll talk about scroll stoppers in just a moment. And another scroll stopper is the headline. Can you see the opening line? I could have easily broke down yesterday and yelled, "Why me?" The reason? Now, if you're reading that in your feed, you really want to keep reading because you're curious. Well, what was the reason, right? There's that natural curiosity. And so that's the way to start your post. So let's look at why these types of content, this story-based content is important. It's really engaging. As we've alluded to, it stops people scrolling and it gets them to read. Our brains really love stories, and we remember them over cold facts. It also lets people know who you are because of the level of emotion and description you're including in your story. Interestingly, these types of posts are my most successful. They're my most top performing pieces of content. They also generate affiliate income for me and bring in new clients. So how do you create one of these posts? There are 5 essential elements, and the first one is a scroll stopper. This can be a headline which really captures attention, although it's not always a headline. Sometimes it is simply a sentence at the start of the post that's very arresting, and it really grabs people's attention and stops them from scrolling. You also want to include some element of journey and transformation. So, for example, I was here and now I'm here. I used to struggle with this thing, and now I'm not struggling with this thing. It shows a before and after through your words. You can add an image that shows a visual before and after, but you really want to take the reader on a journey through your words. You also want to include some emotion in there and really build a picture of how you were feeling. And one way that you can do that is to really play up the description and the 5 senses. So for example, if you were going to write a post about how you had an epiphany when you were driving down the road in your car, you could say, I had an epiphany when I was driving in my car, but it's not very lively or sexy or exciting. However, you could say, as I was driving down the road with the rain lashing against my windshield, or as I was stuck in traffic, the air conditioning broken with the window cracked and sweat rolling down my face. Can you see how by including that element of description and 1 or 2 of those senses, it really brings you into the scene and it makes it so much interesting. It really makes it come alive. Don't go crazy with this one though. You don't need to include all of the senses or act like you're writing a novel. Just include 1 or 2 of the senses to really bring the post alive. You also want to finish or sign off the post with a closing thought or a call to action. I very much liken this to, remember Jerry Springer, the TV show, and at the end he had Jerry's final thoughts and he would leave you with some pearl of wisdom following the chaos that you just witnessed. It's a little like that minus the chaos. You want to give your final thoughts. It might be something for people to take away with them, to think about, maybe something for them to action. It might challenge a belief system, or it might be a direct call to action of promoting yourself and your work and saying, hey, if you want more, I have this free guide, click here, or I'm doing this free workshop, come join, or book a call with me, whatever it might be. That would be your CTA, your call to action. As we have already alluded to, it's really important to add a photo if you can find one that is either relevant or catching and or surprising. What images do is they really bypass the area of our brain that's logical and is thinking, and we start to base our opinions and make assumptions on the image that we're seeing before we are logically thinking about it, and that makes people stop scrolling. Quotes are a really great type of content too. You all know what a quote is, I'm sure, but there are quotes by yourself and quotes by others. They are text-based or they are image-based. These are so quick and easy to create. They are so high engagement and they have this shareability factor. I would be surprised if you have never shared a quote before. And to be honest, they are filler content. They are certainly better than having no content whatsoever. Here's an example of one of my quotes relating to twin flames, which is the work I'm moving into, which is, when a man loves a deep woman, he learns how to swim. As you can tell from the reaction, I did get high engagement here. We got lots and lots of comments too, ranging from thoughts to gifts to thank yous to all kinds of things. This is actually recycled content too. This is the second time I've posted this. It didn't get as much engagement the second time around. The first time it really blew up. So you can repurpose your content too, and Mary's going to go through that in a little bit more detail with you. Here are some more examples of quotes. We have image-based, which is a quote by someone else about relationship status. There's the quote by Stephen King about amateurs waiting for inspiration and the rest of us working, even though that's someone else's quote. That is very much in line with what I believe. And then there's a quote from Marianne Williamson about the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So the Marianne Williamson quote is on my Twitter, Stephen King is on my Facebook, and the graphics-based post is from my Instagram. So these work really well for all of them. So how do you create this? Mary's going to go through this in more detail. However, you can quote yourself, listen to your interviews or your conversations with spiritual friends and use what is quotable. If you're looking for a text-based quote from someone else, you can look them up on Twitter or Instagram, or just simply Google it. Just look for inspirational quotes on writing, quotes on twin flames, like whatever it is. You can find it that way. Similar sort of thing for image-based quotes. You can create a short quote or a meme in Canva if it's a quote that you started. I used to have the author affirmations that I created for first-time authors. You can also find quotes that really resonate on, again, in Instagram and Google, and you're looking for those graphics. Polarizing opinions, arguably one of the most challenging to implement because they are polarizing in nature. A polarizing opinion is a bold statement on your industry, its themes and patterns. It's a statement which evokes a strong reaction of agreement and disagreement, both of them. You will get both kinds and you want that. That's what it is to be polarizing. And it's important because it sets you apart and really cuts through the noise of social media. It draws the right people to you and it generates conversation. Generating conversation is really important when you are an expert and a thought leader. You want to get people talking. That's important. That's how you start changing people's minds and really moving the needle on whatever area it is you're attempting to change. Also, this has the impact of really tickling the algorithms on Facebook, in that the more comments, shares, likes that you get on a post, the more it will put that post to the top of the feed and more people will see it. Now, if you're a little bit nervous about this, remember that if you appeal to everyone, you actually appeal to no one. So it's really important to put your stake in the ground and tell people what you stand for. And perhaps you won't be as polarizing as myself. I can be very, very polarizing, particularly when I'm talking about twin flames, but you have to appeal to the people that resonate with you. And if you basically kowtow to every person that disagrees, nobody is going to know what you stand for. So how do you create one of these lovely pieces of content? Ask yourself, what parts of my work feel really old and tired? What do I need to call out? What do I find unethical about my industry? What patterns of behavior do I see from practitioners in my industry that keeps people stuck? What am I really tired of hearing about? What is everybody doing in my industry and it drives me nuts? Next, free write on this topic for 5 minutes. Set a timer for that. After the time is up, go back and edit the post. Add paragraph breaks to break up the text. This really increases readability. In other words, if there's a wall of text coming at you, you're not going to stop scrolling. You're going to scroll right past that. And it's the same for other people too when they're looking at your work. So make sure you add those breaks in to break up the text. And then post it on social. Your pro tip is to experiment with including an image or a scroll stopper, so a very arresting sentence at the beginning of your post. How-to guides. This is one of those types of content where it's more than likely going to be how people find you. You know, when you search for something and then you end up finding people that you really resonate with, that's what this is about. So your course materials for this section are live streams made simple. That's my PDF 16-page guide on how to write a script for Facebook. And then you also have my live stream scripts. So my Facebook live scripts that I wrote for actual Facebook Lives that I've done. These are unedited, unfiltered, as I said at the start. These are scripts I've used and I've not changed them one bit. I have dropped them into your course content and you can use them as they are and use them as templates. So please do take advantage of that. As I've alluded to, A how-to guide is a piece of content which guides the reader or viewer through steps to help them solve a problem. And the solution, of course, is linked to your area of expertise. For example, if you're a book coach and you help people to write their first book, your audience will find you when they're writing their first book. And so you could broadcast a Facebook Live called The 5 Essential Steps to Writing Your First Book. It sounds kind of obvious, doesn't it? But sometimes when we're so close to our content, we don't always see it that way. And so by getting inside the head of your audience, you really can figure out what it is that they're struggling with and create some content around that that gives you great content and really helps them, and it helps everyone. As I said, this is often the reason people find you. How many times have you searched for a topic and by accident you found a new favorite guru? Perhaps you're looking for information on past lives and the soul, and you stumble across Brian Weiss and you listen to his podcast and download his meditations and buy his books and you love his work, but you found it because you were looking up the journey of the soul and past lives, and that's how you stumbled across him. Also, how-to guides showcase your expertise and they attract potential new clients because you're showing them what you know. So how do you do this? It's really, really easy. Every time someone asks you a question on social media, one that references your expertise, I want you to write this down. Keep a list of the most common questions that you're asked. So for example, I want to write a book. Where should I start? I had to be asked this question like 5 to 10 times on social media before I got the message from Spirit that actually this was something people were genuinely struggling with. Even though I didn't understand why, I knew it was a pain point for them. So I was able to create content around this and really help them. You can also brainstorm a list of questions you're often asked relating to your expertise, and you can list the top 3 struggles of your audience. So think of your clients, think of the people that you help, what they come to you with and what you help them with, and how they feel after you've helped them, right? Bundle all of that together and create these questions. Next, take one question, break it down into 3 to 5 steps, and create a video on this. So this could be a Facebook Live or a YouTube video, but we are focusing on Facebook Live. And the reason Facebook Live is so important and the reason why we are focusing on it is because Facebook prioritizes video content over text-based content, particularly live videos, because we see videos on Facebook all the time, but with live videos, because you're using their functionality and their platform, they do prioritize that over other content, especially if it's high performing. In other words, if there's lots of comments and likes and shares, then it will be boosted. So remember when you're on a Facebook Live to always ask for that engagement. Don't say the words, "Let me see your engagement," because nobody will know what you're talking about. But ask them questions. Say things like, "I'm coming to you from Reading in England. I'd love to know whereabouts in the world you're joining me from, so let me know in the comments below." Or when you're talking about the topic, you can say, "Hey, let me know, is this something that you struggle with too? Let me know down in the comments." So you're asking for the engagement, and if Facebook sees that there's lots of people commenting, they say, "Oh, this is a really great video. Let's put that in front of more people and rank it at the top of the newsfeed." As I said, I do have these 2 guides, so be sure to use this to create those scripts and break it down into steps. I'll show you the intro and the outro of the video and how to include a call to action and really how to structure the entire video. So do use the course materials there. Behind the scenes content. This is so easy to create. It is simply a preview of what you're currently working on in the form of photos or short videos. So for example, maybe you're at a photo shoot or you're showing your setup for a Facebook Live or a photo of your microphone after recording a podcast. Incidentally, Instagram stories are almost tailor-made for behind the scenes content. So be sure to use Instagram stories for this if you're using Instagram. And the hashtag BTS is shorthand for behind the scenes. You can use hashtag behind the scenes or hashtag BTS. Either one will work. This is important. It's a bit of a psychological one. Behind the scenes content is used by public figures. And so there's an assumption that if you're sharing this type of content, then you must be important too, which you are. And it elevates the way in which people perceive you. Also, people really love to see something they feel that other people can't see. And you'll be absolutely amazed how many people really love seeing behind the scenes content. It's really, really easy to create behind the scenes content. It's so simple. Next time you're sat at your desk working on a new project, or you're giving a podcast interview, whatever it might be, ask yourself, can I capture this in an image and post about it? You take a photo, you add some text, and optional, you might finish with a call to action if that's appropriate. Here's an image of a behind the scenes shot when I was in Oxfordshire. I was away and I decided to time the announcement of my retirement from public relations. So if you don't know, I am retiring and moving into twin flame teaching, which is very exciting. And because the setting and the background was so nice, I decided to take an image of where I was and I posted it. And I reminded people to watch the retirement video, which now has like 600 views, which is a couple hundred higher than my average videos. So the engagement was higher, and I did promote it with this behind the scenes post. I even had someone commenting below, oh my gosh, I really love to see what's behind the camera. So she basically said she loved behind the scenes content. And we all do. If you think of your favorite sports team, hockey team or whatever, or your favorite band or singer or actor, if you see them, you know, doing an Instagram story saying, hi, I'm just on set at blah, 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 or whatever, like that's kind of cool to see that. It feels very inviting. It feels like you're being invited into their world, and that feels really good to be on the receiving end of. And it's the same for your followers too. It feels very welcoming. You feel drawn in, you feel included, and it builds that know, like, trust factor. Why would someone buy a book of someone that they've never heard of, right? Probably not. But if they know you, if they've seen your content, then they know, like, and trust you, and they're more likely to buy your book or your course or whatever it might be. Now you've seen the 5 types of content. I don't want this to just float away in the breeze and you carry on with your business and forget all about it. Put this into practice. Try it on for size. See what works for you. Not all of them will work for you. They work for me, but we're different people. They might not work for you. So the 5-day content challenge. So I want you to put this into practice every day for the next 5 days. Try out one of these 5 types of killer content. So I want you to make a list. Order them by ease, so start with what feels really easy and then build to the one that challenges you the most. So you might want to try a quote to start off with, find something that you've said that you think is quite profound, share that, and then build up to what you think is pretty tough. So that might be a polarizing opinion or a story. And then by doing that, you really see what works for you and what gets engagement and what feels good to you. And then you can do more of that. And of course, post your successes and your wins in the Facebook group. Here's a reminder too on the 5 types of killer content: stories, quotes, polarizing opinions, how-to guides, and behind the scenes. The 3-prong approach to killer content. So this is a way of keeping content top of mind all the time. I remember when I started out in my business, I would sit there on a Sunday night and think, what am I going to put into Hootsuite, my social media scheduler at the time, it still is. What am I going to put into Hootsuite for my content for the week ahead? And it would just feel so laborious and so tedious and difficult. And now I don't do that. I don't think about it, but instead I have it top of mind all the time. So it's a little bit of mind trickery, but it's not about content creation. It's about thought monitoring. And more so, it's about monitoring your thoughts, monitoring your moments, and monitoring your triumphs. So ask yourself, how do I turn this thought into content, this moment into content, and this triumph? So does this thought, moment, or triumph become a story, a quote, a polarizing opinion, a how-to guide, or is it a behind-the-scenes photograph? Let's look at each one in detail now. So how do you turn thoughts into content? That sounds kind of high level, right? So here's how you can do it. An example might be remembering something that happened to you early in life that really shaped who you are. So when you have that thought and you remember, start writing it down and that becomes a story. It could be thinking about something in your industry that really, really bugs you. And that, of course, becomes a polarizing opinion. It could also be feeling confused or overwhelmed and then finding a solution. And if you can break that down into steps, that becomes a how-to guide. Here's an example of a thought I was having of something that was really annoying me. Actually, it wasn't only a thought. I'd been talking about this as well with a friend of mine. I was talking about how I get really, really annoyed by twin flame psychics who draw cards all the time about when you're getting back with your twin flame, and it prevents people from doing the work and it prevents people from moving into mission work. So I added a scroll stopper, a headline in this case, and I wrote about it. And there's fairly low engagement in this one on Instagram. I couldn't find my screenshot of the Facebook version, but this got really good engagement with people talking about it and saying, yeah, actually, I find this to be the case too. This is a problem in our industry. So that's an example of how a thought became a polarizing opinion and then became a post. How do I turn this moment into content? This image is of myself and Mary Shaw's at Amplified Soul Live in Los Angeles in March. So I'm going to tell you a little story about how we created this image and what went on behind the scenes. Some examples of how you can turn moments into content would be attending an industry event and meeting your soul family there. I do that all the time. If I've met someone really impactful at an event, I'll take a selfie with them and post about it. It could be sat at your desk working. So it could be a behind the scenes shot, or you could take a photo, add your thoughts, and it becomes a story. It could be simply relaxing at a beach or pool or a cafe and thinking about your journey. If you've probably done that yourself. You're sat there thinking, gosh, I used to really struggle with this thing and now I'm doing well in this area and I've come a long way, when you're contemplating your life choices, as we do. So then that could become an inspiring story, or if you can break it down to steps, again, it's a how-to guide. So the story behind this image, Mary and I were at this event, Amplified Soul Live, and Mary said, wait right there, I've got something for you. And she said, I've got a present for you. And she came back into the room and pulled something out of her bag, and it was this t-shirt that said Fearless Ambition, and she was wearing her t-shirt that day. She said, look, we're like twins. And I said, oh my God, this is a photo opportunity. And we kept talking. I said, no, we've got to take a photograph of this. This is too good to miss out. So we got somebody nearby to take a photograph of this. We stood by the sign. The lighting wasn't great because in the room it looked fab, but it didn't come out that great on camera because it's blue lighting. But that being said, we took a photo in the moment, and it was literally just us at this event wearing our Fearless Ambition t-shirts. And this is something obviously we can use now for promotion, and we posted it in the group too, and you guys really like to see us together. So that's a really simple example of how to turn a moment into content. So it becomes a habit more than a task that you need to accomplish. It becomes a habit of constantly documenting and recording what you're doing and posting it, as long as it's relevant. You can use what's in front of you. You can capture where you are right now, and you can write about your reality right now, unfiltered. When I was creating this slide deck and actually working on how do I turn this moment into content, I took a photograph, and this is so meta. I took a photograph of my desk. I was actually working from the kitchen, which I'm recording this from the kitchen too. I just love working in the kitchen. And I'm English. I like being able to make a cup of tea every 2 minutes. So I took a picture of where I was working from. I put it through Snapseed, a photo app, which I'll talk about in a second. And I added some text. It was really basic, adding the finishing touches to my slides for the masterclass this weekend. It's probably the last workshop I'm going to do live because I'm retiring. Grab your ticket. Here's the link. So very brief, talking about what I was doing and giving that call to action of go and get your ticket. So I then selected my Facebook profile, my Facebook page, and LinkedIn. It says I selected Instagram there as well, which I actually didn't. That's a mistake. So I then selected that and used the drop-down menu to select auto schedule, clicked auto schedule, and it went out on my social media channels earlier that day. You can also see that in Hootsuite, particularly, it's easy to see with the app, because this was on the app on my phone, not on my desktop. It shows you how many characters you have left on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, which is really handy because they all have different character limits. This photo was actually retweeted by Gabrielle Bernstein. I tried in vain to find that retweet, but as it was over a year ago, I could not find it on my Twitter. I scrolled back all the way to March 2017, and this was, as you can see, February 2017, last year. So in the tweet, the text was slightly different, but she retweeted it and actually commented and said what a great photograph it was. And I could tell it was actually her that did it because of the way she signed off. So that was kind of crazy to get that sort of response. And I got it in front of a lot of people. Obviously, it had her book, so that was a reason for her to share. But that was kind of cool. And with the text that I added here, I've used this text a number of times with different images, and it's always been really powerful because the text is powerful and because it was channeled and it's a message that people needed to hear. And it's about a next wave of teachers and light workers. And as you can tell by the reactions and the shares and the comments and the likes, I got massive engagement on this. And it was a thought that I was having at the time, and I captured a moment I was having there, just sitting, eating apples and peanut butter and reading a book. Another example, this is much more recent. This was, it says 16 hours ago. It's a couple of days ago now. I should have updated the screenshot for you because it's got higher engagement since then. However, and this is not uncommon for me to get this kind of engagement on posts. Like, I really have this knack of creating content that people really love to read, which is great. And it converts too into sales, which is fabulous. So as you can tell, the opening sentence is very arresting. It's very aggressive. It's very in your face. And it's also really honest. And the image, I was just sat here on the couch, very close to where I'm recording now, in the kitchen, in the little living space of the kitchen. And I was sat down with my feet up. I was thinking, do you know what? I'm really, really tired right now. It's been a really busy 2 weeks. And I just started writing my thoughts down, very raw, real, unfiltered, as I often am, always am on social media. And I took a picture of where it was sat, and I edited it on Snapseed, added them together. And as you can see by the comments, people were just thanking me for being real and being honest and saying, you know what? This shtick isn't easy. This ascension shtick, it's not easy. Triumphs. This can be winning a podcast interview or a guest blogging opportunity. So be sure to let people know. If you've suddenly got an email from Elephant Journal saying, we'd love to publish your article, then let people know about that. Say, oh my God, I'm really excited. I just got this email. My post is going live tomorrow. I'm so excited. I'll let you know when it's up. You know, just be genuine. Just use your own words and show your enthusiasm for it. It can also be a client having a huge breakthrough or a major win, depending on what kind of work you do. Or it could be you having a personal breakthrough yourself. It could also be completing the first chapter of your book. If you've taken the Aspiring Authors course, you will also know that there's lots of milestones you can share with regards to writing your first book. So let's now move on to attention grabbing versus attention seeking. So the last thing we want to do is create a load of people who want to share content on social media for attention, because that doesn't serve anyone and it's not of the highest good. So there is a difference between attention grabbing and attention seeking, and the difference is as follows. Attention grabbing is, this is important and needs to be shared. Attention seeking is, this is important to me even if it isn't significant to others. It's, people need to hear this versus, I feel like saying this. This causes people to see things in a different way versus, this will add to the noise on social media, sure, but it gets me likes. Someone needs to step up and talk about this. I'm feeling really afraid, but I'll do it because it's important. Instead of, everyone else is saying this, so I might as well join them. It gets them attention. It'll probably get me attention too. And finally, this is bigger than me. This is all about me. Can you see the difference between those different perspectives? The intention behind it is very, very different. One is about service and leading and being a thought leader and someone that creates change in the world in a good way. The other is very self-absorbed. It's focused on you and how you're going to feel with the reaction that you get. And if that's you, then polarizing opinion content is probably not for you. Well, you can see that there are subtle differences, but quite clear distinctions between these two schools of thought. So on to our final section before we go to Mary Shaw's with mega batching. Let's cover my 3 essential content creation tools. Mary has some as well, and hers is slightly different, but equally as valuable. And it's really great to see which tools each of us use. So, social media scheduling. There's a number of different tools out there to make sure that your social channels are really consistently full of content. Content that goes live while you work, sleep, see clients, go to the gym, play, be with your family, whatever you are doing. My favorite by far is Hootsuite. I used the free version when I started out. I now use the paid version. The free form of Hootsuite does have some limitations now. It didn't used to, but the limit is 30 posts that you can schedule in advance, a maximum of 30. So if you're going over 30, then you'll need to upgrade. It's about $35 a month, which is about 25, 26 pounds if you're in the UK like me. You can also use Buffer. I've flirted with Buffer now and again. It's a paid application though, and it's about $10 a month. Also, Facebook has inbuilt scheduling, which is free, that is available on your page, as well as your Facebook profile and any groups you may be an admin in or any groups that you have created yourself. Here is a sneak peek at what the Hootsuite dashboard looks like. So this is the content that's going out tomorrow for me. I have it on the sort of list view. If I had it on week or month view, you could see all of the content in advance, but it shows that I have a mixture of content going out across my Facebook page, my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm pretty sure there is some Instagram in there too, in that bundle of 3 messages going out at 12:20. Photo editing apps. These are apps that brighten and sharpen your images for behind the scenes content and stories. The best photo editing is really subtle. You can't necessarily pinpoint why a photo stands out, but you know that it does. When an image stands out from the rest, it acts as a scroll stopper and makes people stop and read, and you receive more engagement. In other words, people start a conversation, they talk about it, they share it, they read what it is you've spent time crafting. My favorite by far is Snapseed. It is a Google-based app and I love it. I use it all the time, and to edit my photos, it's really quick, really simple. I've got it down to a fine art now where it takes me about 30 seconds. So let's look at some before and afters. So this was the shot I told you about where I literally just took a picture of where I was working and then I highlighted it using the app. I brightened it, increased the ambiance. I will more than likely do a tutorial on this app in the group at some point if I haven't already when you listen to this. So as you can see, the image on the right is much brighter. You can also see the text on the screen, whereas you couldn't see that very easily on the original image on the left. It just looks brighter, more colorful. I've upped the saturation a little bit, and it's a little bit more appealing. I've used the exact same methods on this image, only this is an image of me. So it is going to change the way your skin and your face looks when you're brightening the photo in general. But my rule of thumb here is that I'm not trying to make myself look different than how I look. I'm just simply trying to brighten the image up. You can, if you choose, use things like skin smoothing and eye whitening and all of that. That is available in Snapseed. I choose not to use it though, because I know my audience really appreciate my realness. So when I'm doing this, it's really basic editing to simply brighten the image so that it stands out more, rather than me trying to make myself look perfect. Because if you follow me on any of the channels, you'll know that I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff and really keep it real. I do a lot of Instagram stories with no makeup. Like, you know, I'm not particularly known for being this perfect looking thing. And so to me, it's really not necessary to edit your photos within an inch of their life. You might disagree, you might take a different way, that's fine. But you can really over edit images very easily. There's the functionality on Snapseed to, like I said, skin smooth and eye whiten. If you overdo it though, you end up looking like something out of a video game and not looking like a real person. So don't overdo it. Keep it really, really simple. Graphic design. So obviously, you know what these programs do, but specifically to content, you can design graphics for your quotes by yourself and also cover images, those banners for Facebook and Twitter. This really levels you up from hobbyist to expert because it is amazing how many people don't have a professionally designed banner on their Facebook page or on their Twitter. And it's something random like a stock image or a sunset or a picture of their dog or something. You know, I love animals too. I'm very much an animals person, but it's not really that conducive to getting new clients or positioning you as an expert. So you can design it in a place like Canva. The best programs are simple and you don't have to be a designer to use them. I'm not a designer and I design very effective and impactful graphics using Canva. So you can sign up for a free account at canva.com and play around and see what you can create. So here is a screenshot of my Facebook page so I can show you what I mean by these banners. As you can see to the right of the profile image, I have a banner with an announcement about retiring from PR, which is something that I do want people to see as soon as they land on my page. You might have something different you want them to see. It might be an announcement, or it could be a workshop or a retreat that you're promoting at the moment, and you want that to be front and center so that people see it. If you don't have an announcement and you don't have something you are promoting that is time sensitive for you, then what you can do is simply have a basic cover image saying who you are and what you do. So in this case, it might have just said Cheryl Muir, media strategist for authors, and I would have moved the text around and made it a little bigger, and maybe I added some kind of image or quote or some more text, but I would have remove the announcement and just put what I do. So make sure you have that up there. It again levels you up from hobbyist to expert and highlights you as the expert that you are. So without further ado, I will pass this over to Mary now, who will be taking you through her content mega batching. And I have a feeling this is going to be very, very valuable for you.
All right, are you guys ready and excited to learn my amazing mega batching content strategy? So what is mega batching? Mega batching is a content creation method in which I'm going to show you how to create several different types of content from one piece of original content. So this method is a bit different from Cheryl's in that I'm going to teach you how to take one big piece of content and then break it down into all kinds of other content that you can share. There are so many benefits of mega batching, and I can tell you that this really changed our world when we learned how to do this, because before we were really struggling with what to post and when to post it, and it was kind of like trying to make our brain sweat to think of content, whereas this reverse engineers content from a larger piece of content. So the biggest benefit is that you will be able to so easily create 9 pieces of content or more out of one piece of original content. Your content is going to have a theme. So what's really cool is when you reverse engineer content out of one larger piece, it means that all of that content will be around a central theme. And from there, you're going to be able to easily share and post this content on all of your favorite platforms. Let me just give you a little bit of a breakdown of the mega batching process. So first, you're going to start with a long piece of original content. You're going to find a main theme, pick 3 key points, and then you're going to break that down into other types of content. So here on this chart, I'm showing you have your OC, your original content, and you're going to choose the theme. You'll be able to break that into a blog or newsletter, create a video. And then next, you're going to figure out what are the 3 key points, which I'll show you an example of that in a moment. And from each one of those key points, you're going to create a meme and a text post. So this allows you to create a variety of content all at the same time. So, starting with the original piece of content, let's talk about the OC. My favorite type of original content to use are interviews because I do a lot of podcast interviews and radio shows or television appearances. So, it's really easy for me to have recordings of myself talking on an interview. So, here we have a picture of myself doing an interview with Alex Ruggieri for Central Illinois Business Radio. So this was just a 30-minute interview, and I actually have a recording of the interview. And what I do is I have that transcribed so that I have the written long form of the interviews. Some other ideas are you could either record phone calls with clients or friends, and if even if you don't record it, you could just have a really raw conversation with a friend. You know, the transparency and the unfiltered rawness of a conversation that you're going to have with a friend is much different than when you're sitting there trying to write something that fits into, you know, like a professional criteria for yourself. So, but that rawness, you know, is really showing vulnerability, and it gives you a lot of ideas for content. Another great thing to do is to transcribe your Facebook lives. And the reason that you're going to get some really great content out of that is because even if you're using Cheryl's script, you may have someone ask you a question that inspires you to say something new that you've never seen before. One of my favorite things to do is record in-person events. Now, I harp on people. So if you've ever had a phone conversation with me, you know, one of the first suggestions that I give is every time you do an in-person event, you need to record it. And sometimes it might feel a little weird. I had a friend a couple weeks ago that her book just launched, and she did a free talk at the library. And I begged her and begged her to record the talk, and she wanted to, but she didn't. And later on she said, Mary, she's like, I really wish I would have recorded that because I said so many brilliant things and I can't remember what I said. So what happens is a lot of times when you're doing an event, you're a workshop or a speech, you're in the moment and you're going to say things that it would be hard to remember later. You know, Cheryl was talking about her content being in written form. And so a lot of us, our strength is in writing. And if that is the case, then you are really lucky because you don't have to mess with getting the transcription done. You can just take your blogs, everything that you write, even your journals, and you can turn this in, you can use this as your original content that you will use to break up into smaller content. Now, if you're writing a book, you can use stuff out of your book proposal. You can use information out of your book that didn't make the final cut, or you can take topics out of your book. So for example, one of the topics in my book, one of the subsections in one of the chapters is laying it all out on the massage table. And it's just a little story about one day when I was on the massage table and I sort of had this emotional moment. So what I would need to do though, if I'm going to use that as content, is not use it word for word, because you don't want to give your whole book away, and you may have a contract with your publisher that prohibits you from sharing too much stuff out of your book. So moving on, we're going to talk about getting to these 3 key points. The first thing that you want to do is choose a main theme. So in this example, what I'm showing you is this is an actual screenshot of one of our recorded transcriptions from a podcast. And then the main theme of this transcription is going from dropout to dreamer. So what I was talking about on the show was how I was on my own at 16 and that I had really come from this emotional, tragic background. And I was able to pick myself up, recover from my problems, and start my first business at 24, which actually then turned into over 20 years. It's really become a very profitable and successful business. And so people have a fascination with that. So that's the main point. Okay, so this is the theme that will be the theme for the week. Now, from there, it's easy to just look at the transcription and say, what are the 3 most important key points out of this transcription? And so here I'm seeing, I realized at a very young age that I could be in control of my own destiny. At some point, I must have started talking about purpose and following your path, which I love to talk about, how to know when you're on your purpose. And then also talking about your potential, which is another thing I love to talk about. So here we have the theme from Dropout to Dreamer, and we've got now 3 key points. This is all very easy to do so far, and it will continue to be simple, simple, simple. Now, here's another form of content you can break this down into. This is really fun. Now, these are 1 to 2 minute video clips. And what I want to do is I want to play each one of them, and then I want to point some things out to you. So going with the theme from Dropout to Dreamer, I'm just going to play this video. Not a lot of people know this, but the real reason I started my business when I was 24 years old wasn't because I had like grandiose ambitions or, like all of these big goals in life. It was actually because inside I felt like a loser. And to be really honest, I had been fired from a job and I was a college dropout, and I honestly believed that I would never make as much money as my friends and my peers and my counterparts who were college graduates. And so because I had that belief, I actually started a business more out of desperation than really ambition. And so you can tell, like, from the way that your questions are going, like, I needed to get over that as a shift and realize that my hurdles were self-created, and that my expertise and who I was as a person was more powerful than any of the things that were holding me back. So I really want to point some things out about this video. I want to get it back to the beginning here. Okay, so what we have done here is, obviously this is just a picture of me and the headline from Dropout to Dreamer that comes right from the theme of the week. Now, this play button that you see in the middle of the image is actually not the default play button. So what happened is we created an image to put on that image so that when people are scrolling, you heard Cheryl say scroll stopper, when they see that big play button, they're more likely to realize, oh, this is a video, not just a picture, and actually click on it. Now, one of the other things is putting the transcription at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to pause it. Not a lot of people know this, but the real reason Oops, I did not mean to do that. Okay. Not a lot of people know this, but the real reason Okay, so what I want to point out here is that we've added a transcription to the bottom of the video, and we've also added these quote marks, and it says Mary Shores at the bottom. So what we have done here is, using our branding colors, we've created this look so that we can create several of these videos and just really use this same template. And then we used Auphonic to create the waveform in the middle, because we know that you guys know I love to study neurology, but the human brain is going to pay attention more to things that are moving. We are just simply wired that way. So I'm going to hit play one more time so you can just see it in action for a few seconds. I started my business when I was 24 years old wasn't because I had like grandiose ambitions or, like all of these. So you can see how the waveform was moving, and also the transcription is moving. So, and it's a very short video. If you keep the video under 1 minute, you'll actually be able to share it on Instagram as well. So now this other video, which I'm really excited about to share with you, this is a video that was created. It's just a short, less than 1 minute clip out of this Alex Ruggieri show. And then I want to tell you how I did this. We need to stop the self-sabotaging. We need to understand that our belief systems about the world and about ourselves are actually coming from our subconscious programming. Yes. And we're the ones who install the program. And so we're doing that by the words that we speak, which is why the subtitle is Your Step-by-Step Guide to Harnessing the Power of Your Words to Change Your Mind, Your Choices, and Your Life. Because you see, Alex, one way to control your programming in your subconscious is through your words. And once you start to change your words and you start to see evidence of how that is true, you start to change your thoughts. And didn't Wayne Dyer always say, change your thoughts, change your life? Mm-hmm. But how do you do that? Because your thoughts kind of come up from these crazy places sometimes. Yeah. So it's just putting you in the driver's seat of your own life. We need to. Okay, so let me tell you about this little video here. I got invited in to do a short clip on this radio show. So the interview was it was either 20 or 30 minutes. I think it was 30 minutes. And I simply just brought my camera and put it on a tripod. And what I did was I faced the camera towards me and I asked Alex, hey, do you mind if I videotape this interview? So it's really cool because his show is not a video show. You know, we're in a studio, so it's kind of interesting. You can see the sound equipment there. You can see the panels in the back for optimal sound. You can see the microphone. You can see me facing him. So we're literally in a professional studio. I set up the tripod. I recorded the whole interview. And then it's so easy. You know, he asked me a question. Maybe he asked me about the title of the book. And then I just sort of riff for about 1 minute answering his question. So this video actually did very, very well on LinkedIn. Now, let's talk about breaking our content into other types of content as well. So I just showed you the videos, and now I'm going to show you, this is an example of our blog newsletter. Now, this newsletter goes out weekly. It's also posted on the blog section of our website, maryshores.com, and I will share these on Facebook and LinkedIn and all kinds of different places. So this is actually just that original transcript that I showed you a few slides ago, where I'm taking the podcast interview, having it transcribed, and then from there, it's so easy. All we have to do is edit this, clean it up a little bit, and boom, we have a blog or a newsletter. Now, I'll show you later on, but I just want to point out the way that this picture right here is made. We use Adobe Spark that automatically creates branded pictures. So it just is a time saver. So we have a similar look to all of our blogs, which is typically just a picture of me or a stock image, and then we put it through Adobe Spark to create the headline, and it will be in a branded format so people can recognize that. So this one is all about my, I recently wrote that my journey has not always been graceful. Many of you know me as a successful businesswoman with a thriving, purpose-driven business, but it wasn't always like that. I struggled and I took some major reinvention to succeed. So this comes directly out of this transcript, like I said. Now, the next thing is the longer form text post. So when I say longer form, I just mean something that's more than a few lines. So something that goes on a journey, something that tells a story. And this first one here, you see, it's on my professional page, my public figure page, Mary Shores. It says, I had come to a point in my life where I realized that my biggest hurdles in life were self-created. Now remember, you heard that right on that video. So that came directly out of the podcast. If you're like me, you know exactly what it's like to look around at your friends and peers and know that you don't fit in. Knowing you won't have the same career they have. Knowing you don't have the perfect family that they have. Knowing you are a loser. That's where I came from, a college dropout, already living paycheck to paycheck. I lost my job, and that's where I found myself. Feeling like I was out of opportunities, I realized I could create my own. I started my company, and that was the rebound I needed. And I went from dropout to dreamer. So as you can see, this is just really simple, and it came directly out of that transcription, and we just edited it a little bit to make it a perfect text post. And here we just have another example of the very same thing where we've created a text post. So now let's take it even further. I want to review with you how you're going to take that original piece of content, I've showed you how it's a great idea to break it down into a short video, into a blog or a newsletter. And then the next part is creating social media memes. And by the way, this document that you're seeing on here is our mega batching worksheet. We've included that for you in your packet, so you'll be able to track this and use this to create your own. Now, here is some example of some social media memes. Now, memes have been around forever, and right now video is much more popular, but what we find is if we add a text post to a photo, we might get some more engagement. Now, prior to very recently, we were using a lot of stock images. And so it's my personal preference that I want to use my image and branding colors on these memes because it begins to increase recognition. I think I read somewhere that you want people to see you 28 times. And so these are examples of different memes that we've made all out of that original transcript from the OC, or the original piece of content. Now, I want to take you, bring your eyes down here to point number 3. So these are quotes. Now, I love to use quotes on my memes, and we know that we can use other people's quotes, but recently I have made a strong decision that I only want to use my own quotes. And in the beginning, when I first started out my career as an influencer, it was very intimidating because I didn't feel like I actually had any quotes that were worthwhile. But if we look here on point number 3, which you remember that I told you you're going to have 3 key points. So out of each one of those 3 key points, you're going to search through your transcription or your notes or whatever you have, and you're going to find 3 quotes. Now, this is not any work for us because we actually already have the transcription, so we have the quotes are already there. So in point number 3, post A, you see who you are as a person is more powerful than anything holding you back. So if you remember to that video from Dropout to Dreamer, that is actually the last line of that video. Now, I don't remember saying that, and when I listened back to it, I was like, I really love that as a quote. And so when we see here in the upper left corner under the social media memes, you've got a picture of me, and then you have that quote on the picture. Who you are as a person is more powerful than anything holding you back. I think it's a good, strong quote. It's a nice smiley picture of me. I'm looking directly in the camera, and we can combine that with some text post, or we can just post this all by itself. And so you've got 4 examples here. These are all direct quotes from me, and they come from each one of the key points. So what you're going to do is after you create your main theme, then you're going to create your 3 main points. And out of each of those 3 main points, I want you to find 3 direct quotes that support that key point. So we've got here in point number 1, one post will say, define your desires, define who you want to be, define your beliefs. Or, why stay stuck on a sad story? Write a new exciting one. Miracles are such easy things to create just to be open to them. So these are great things that you can take small quotes and put them on a picture meme. And remember, once again, it's really great if you use your own picture and your branding colors on your memes to increase recognition. And if you're wondering how I created these, I know Cheryl really is a big fan of Canva. We use WordSwag to create these memes. And at the end of my section, I am going to share with you all the tools that I use because I know everyone loves to have those. Next, we want to schedule a post for an entire week of themed content. So here's a typical week of our scheduled post. And with the mega batching process, all content going out on each platform revolves around that one main theme. So in our example today, we're using the theme from Dropout to Dreamer. So, Cheryl was talking about loving triumph stories. So from Dropout to Dreamer, that theme is very much about resiliency and creating triumph from tragedy. Now, I want to show you something about the content calendar that I believe it's a really great idea to stagger your content by 1 month on each social media platform. Now, the reason for this is because you're going to start accumulating a lot of followers, and some people will follow you on multiple platforms. So for example, I might have somebody who's following me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and potentially in my Facebook groups. And I don't want to expose them to the same post on every single platform at the same time. So what you can see here is we've taken from Dropout to Dreamer. Okay, and this is going to go live on Facebook on April 15th. And a month later on LinkedIn, it's going to be posted on May 13th. It's going to go on Instagram on June 10th. And then finally in July, it's going to go on Twitter. And then our next topic, which is another theme week, is about true leadership. And so that's going to go on the following week. It's going to go on Facebook, and then a month later on LinkedIn, and then Instagram, and then Twitter. Now, this is important because, like I said, you don't want to oversaturate your followers with the same content on the same platform every single day. And also, you've always got new followers coming in. So the great thing is, if they see it on Facebook, and then they see it again on LinkedIn, it doesn't really feel the same. Like, they might vaguely remember it, but they're not going to get too wore out by it versus if they're following you on 4 platforms and they see the same stuff every day. So this has been a really great strategy for us. And as you can see, our goal is we are trying to get 4 months ahead on content. And this mega batching process is really what is allowing us to do that. Now, our day would not be complete if I didn't ask Roxanne to share one of her best practice tips. So we are, if you know anything about me at all, you know that I'm a very process-driven person. I love to break everything down into steps. That is the way that I run my business. I'm all about documentation. I'm all about work instructions. So Roxanne's best practice is that she really wants you guys to create a tracking system so you know what to post and when. And so what we're showing you here is that we have created a folder for each one of these theme weeks. So we've got a folder here. It says week 1 from Dropout to Dreamer. Week 2, there is a separate folder on the computer that has all of the content for true leadership, and then science of synchronicity, and then also investing in yourself, which is, by the way, you're investing in yourself today by taking this course. So inside the folder, I want to show you what we have. So first thing we have is just a Word document. Now on the Word document, we're going to put all of the text for the post. You're going to do this because if you have the text all in one place on one document, you can just cut and paste every time you're going to share it, and you can do it all at the same time, which makes it super easy. Now, the next thing you see here is the file for the video Dropout to Dreamer video. So again, that's in the folder, in the Dropout to Dreamer folder, which is 1 week's worth of content. And then following that, you see that we have all of these memes. So all of these memes, they all have my picture on them, which is really, really nice. They all go with this week's post. So we're just organizing it in a way that we know exactly where to find it. And we know, and I'm going to tell you something. If you guys do this now, you will be thanking yourself, because before we had this kind of system, I would sometimes spend hours in a week or a weekend looking for a particular post or a particular meme because I wanted to share it, or sometimes it's because I wanted to send it to someone because maybe they had asked me about it or something like that. And before we had this tracking system, we would waste a lot of time just looking for things. So if that's ever been you, this is the way you can organize your stuff. Okay. So a little bit more about tracking. So again, in that Word document, you're going to include the picture file name and the text that goes along with that post. So here we've got, this is the image that we're going to use, and the text is called Tell the New Story. So, and then we've just got the text that's going to go along with that post. I'm not suggesting you lie, but instead of retelling the same disempowering stories, consciously choose to tell your triumph stories that more than your traumas. Create a new chapter in your life. Talk about your highest desires and what you can do to get there. All right, so this is just, we're saving this in a Word document so that we can easily cut and paste it. Now we want to use a spreadsheet to track when to post each batch of content on all the other platforms. So again, you've seen this before, but I just want to reiterate that a great strategy is to stagger the content 1 month spaced apart from each other. So it's really fun. And I think that you'll notice a different level of engagement and keeping people sort of in this content loop of everything always feeling fresh. So the last step here is when it's time to post on another platform, just open the folder and you will have everything you need, all of your pictures and your text. It's easy, easy, easy just to cut and paste. Now, let's talk about all of the tools that I've used to create the things that I've shown you today. So I think that I am so excited about how beautiful our memes have turned out. In the very beginning, and we have probably 1,000 or more memes by now. It actually might be into the thousands. And we have a lot with my picture on them. And so when we started using WordSwag, it made creating memes so much easier. Like we could literally create 300 of them in a month if we want to, because it's an app. You could get it on Android or on your iPhone. Now, what's really cool about WordSwag is that it has a lot of custom fonts built right into the app that you can use, and you'll have access to thousands of free stock images. So if you don't want to use a picture of yourself, then you can use stock images that come along with the app. Now, before we were using stock images, and that is fine. And I have so many beautiful memes, and you can kind of blur them out. You can do lots of cool stuff. So we have a lot of those memes that are stock images. And then it's been more recent that I've made the move to using my photograph, because I want to start getting my face recognized with my audience. Now, I just want to tell you that was a big move for me. And most of the time when I was looking at these photos of myself, I actually hated them. And so I've done 2 photo shoots, and I would really struggle feeling comfortable with the pictures. I always felt like, I would be the nitpickiest. Oh, my eyes look too close together, or my hair isn't right, or my face looks dirty because I didn't like the makeup. And I really had to get over that. And so if you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to use my picture, I just maybe want to ask you to try it. So some people are more comfortable than others. And I just want to be really real and tell you that I hated seeing my own picture in the beginning. And now I actually get really excited, and it's been a boost to my self-esteem because I see these pictures now as beautiful. Okay, moving on to Canva. Now, everyone loves Canva, and because it's very easy to use and there are so many templates available. And Adobe Spark, when I was showing you that newsletter, Adobe Spark is something that I love to use because in just a couple of clicks, you don't have to, with WordSwag, you've got to arrange things a little bit, and Canva, it's the same thing, but with Adobe Spark, you literally, I believe you just put your title of your blog in and it will create the branded look for you. And that way, all of your blogs have the same type of cover photo. Now, to create the videos, the first thing that you'll want to get is this Auphonic from auphonic.com. What that does is it puts the waveform in the video for you. So remember in the video from Dropout to Dreamer, it was just a picture of me with a waveform. And then we also used free stock music to create that music that was playing that seems to be very popular now. Another thing you can use for your videos, if you have Adobe Premiere Pro, this is actually top of the line video editing, and even movie professionals use it to create actual movies. So if you want a simpler free version of a video editor, you can use VSDC. Now, this is so simple to use, and it's comprehensive enough that it's going to be able to do everything that you actually need it to do. So like creating that play button, putting on that transcription, adding that outro card at the end. Those are all things you can do with this VSDC video editor. Now, my scheduling tools are that my favorite one is CoSchedule because it's easy to use. And what I love about CoSchedule is that you can actually use it for LinkedIn and Instagram and not necessarily all of them have the functionality for all the platforms. So we love CoSchedule because you can use it everywhere, and also that it integrates with WordPress to make it a little bit easier on your blog writing. Now, moving over to our newsletter, which is not really what our focus of our training is today, but I still want to give you this information. Now, when you're first starting out, I think it's important to use MailChimp. So because MailChimp is easy to use, which makes it great for beginners, and it's actually free up to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're just starting out your list or you're just starting out your followers, why not use a free service? It's got enough features that's going to keep you busy for quite a while. One of the great features about it is it allows you to have multiple lists. So for example, the people taking this course today are on a different content creation list versus the people who are signed up for my newsletter, which is the Fearless Ambition list. And so I'm able to keep those separate so that I can send different email campaigns to each list or communicate differently depending on which list it is. Now, we're actually in the middle of switching. So that's why you see here also ConvertKit. Now, when we found ConvertKit, we really fell in love with it because it had more advanced features and automation, and we could do a lot of different things with ConvertKit that we couldn't do with MailChimp. So as your list gets bigger and bigger, you might want to look at how you're going to change. You don't have to stay with the same one forever and ever. What we really liked about ConvertKit is instead of having different lists, you actually have one long list and then you'll tag them. So for example, all of you taking this course, you are on my major list, but I'll tag you that you're in the content creation course. That way I won't be sending you emails that say have to do with my Words That Work customer service training, because those people would have a different tag. So I'm sending the right content to the right people.
Mary, thank you so much. That was such an excellent section on content mega batching, and I really, really hope that served you. We learned a lot today, and I hope you found that really valuable. We covered the 5 types of killer content to take you from hobbyist to expert. We covered the 3-prong approach to killer content that was monitoring your moments, your thoughts, and your triumphs. The difference between attention grabbing and attention seeking content, a very subtle but important difference to make. The 3 essential content creation tools, and of course, the content mega batching and social media scheduling strategy with Mary. Thank you all so much for being here. We know that we've given you a lot of information today, so as you chew it over and start to put it through your own filter and start to implement some of these strategies, make sure you check in with us in the group, share your wins. If you have any questions, please let us know, and seek support from those of us in the community, as well as myself and Mary. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you in the Facebook group.